Okay, ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, let's talk some boxing. So we're going to investigate some information. We're going to investigate a statement. There is a statement that says that it actually came from one of my subscribers when I put out a video that said that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao would not survive against the greats. It had a question mark after it. And the video asks for your comments. Do you think that these guys would be able to be competitive, survive against the greats of all time, the Pernell Whitakers, the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Sugar Ray Robinsons, etc., etc., etc.? And so one of my subscribers made a comment saying that against the greats, Pacquiao would more likely get KO'd if he was to lose, and Floyd Mayweather would lose by decision, mainly because the argument is that Floyd is mostly a defensive fighter and Pacquiao is mostly an offensive fighter. Pacquiao, the person was alluding to, though they may have about the same, roundabout, sometimes the same connect percentages by their opponents on them, that Floyd Mayweather Jr., he mostly gets hit with jabs more than power punches, and that Manny Pacquiao gets hit with more power punches, and therefore he is more likely to get hurt than Floyd Mayweather Jr. So we're going to investigate that statement, okay? We're going to see if it's true or false. How are we going to investigate that statement? Very easy. We're going to investigate it by looking at the data. So Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao shared 5 common opponents, okay? They shared Shane Mosley, Miguel Cotto, Ricky Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya, and Juan Manuel Marquez. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare the punches landed on Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao by each of these common opponents, okay? So let's start off with Floyd Mayweather versus Shane Mosley. What I did, I looked at BoxingScene.com. I got my information from there and also from BoxRec when I couldn't get the information from BoxingScene.com. Here is the CompuBox Punch Stat Report for Floyd Mayweather versus Shane Mosley, okay? Now you can look at it round by round. I would suggest you do that, but I don't have time to actually look at it round by round. Okay, I'm going to just scroll all the way down to the bottom and look at the final punch stat report. Okay, this is what we're going to look at. We're really more concerned with Shane Mosley and the punches he is able to land against Floyd Mayweather Jr. and also the punches he's able to land against Manny Pacquiao. So here's Floyd Money Mayweather versus Mosley, and here is Manny Pacquiao versus Shane Mosley. Sugar Shane Mosley, excuse me. I'm gonna call them by their nicknames and everything. Alright, so the Sugar Shane Mosley versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. When we look at the final punch stat report, we see that the total punches landed, he landed 20% of his punches. But of course, we are really interested also not just in the percentage, but the actual amount of punches that were landed. He threw 452, yes, but he landed, this is the most important part, he landed 92. Okay? Against Manny Pacquiao, he threw 330, but he landed 66. So first of all, we realize, and this is a little shocking, that Mosley actually landed less punches against Pacquiao than Mayweather. He landed 92 against Mayweather, but 66 against Pacquiao. So that's kind of surprising. Okay? The next thing is that when we look at jabs, he landed 46 jabs against Mayweather, 283 punches thrown, 16%. He landed 44, not 46, but 44, 2 punches less of 250, 18%. Isn't it interesting? That's kind of interesting too. He actually landed less jabs on Pacquiao. Power punches. Power punches, he landed 46 of 169 power punches, 27% against Floyd Mayweather. 22 of 80, 28% landed. 22. Look at that. 46 against Floyd, 22 against Pacquiao. So he landed less power punches against Pacquiao, less jabs against Pacquiao than he did against Floyd Mayweather. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Percentage-wise, he actually landed slightly less power punches on Floyd and jabs than Manny Pacquiao. See that? Alright, 28% versus 27 and 18% versus 16 with Floyd. Just have a look again. Okay, let's move on. Next person. So in the case of Shane Mosley, when we say, oh, Floyd, you know, his hit with more jabs than power punches. That's not true at all, right? You can see the same amount of jabs as power punches. In fact, a lower percentage of jabs than power punches. Okay, so that's not true. Pacquiao is hit with more power punches and jabs than Floyd. That's not true either. Okay, slightly higher percentage-wise, but literally speaking, less. Okay. All right, let's move on. Miguel Cotto. Cotto landed 105 of 506 against Floyd Mayweather in all. Pacquiao 172 with 597 thrown, 29% with Pacquiao, 21% with Floyd Mayweather. That's a significantly different percentage. So he landed less punches on Floyd Mayweather Jr. He threw less jabs. He threw and landed less jabs than with Pacquiao. Almost double with Pacquiao, right? And in terms of power punches, you can see he threw and landed less power punches. Actually, oh no, I'm wrong. He threw more and landed less against Floyd than he did Manny Pacquiao. Okay? Alright, so in the case of Miguel Cotto, it is very true that he landed less on Floyd Mayweather Jr., defensive style, I guess, than he did against Manny Pacquiao. This is very true in that case. Alright? So, but, nope, people were saying that Floyd gets hit with more with jabs than power punches. That's not true, percentage-wise and literally, okay? So that's not true. It still doesn't hold true with Miguel Cotto. Let's go on to the next person, which is Ricky Hatton. Let's look at the percentages here. Now I'm looking at BoxRec, okay? See, jabs, 11 and 52 power punches, 17%, 17%, overall 17%. He lands 63 punches. Let's see, against Manny Pacquiao, he lands 16 power punches. This fight was the 2-round fight. So we have to look at percentages. 29% power punches, 9% jabs, and 23% in all. Okay? With Floyd Mayweather versus him, it was 17%, 17-17. So, interestingly enough, Hatton wasn't able to land much jabs against Ricky Hatton. He landed mostly power punches. Against Floyd, he actually landed more jabs against Floyd, but less power punches against Floyd. Of course, his fight was a little shorter. So it is true to say in this case that Floyd was hit with less power punches than Manny Pacquiao. However, it still stands that it is false to say that Floyd Mayweather Jr. Was hit with more jabs than power punches. It's a similar percentage, and he still gets hit with more power punches. Okay, let's move on.